Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah, Brother Brian. We meet again now in this our podcast, which is about riba and the danger of riba. And also we want to hear about your experience and share your thoughts about how you came to Islam and what impressed you most and your experience and your past about the riba-based loans.
Um, Economic justice and the concepts of um, market balance and justice in every transaction was definitely a huge factor to me, and it touched me personally as far as the concepts. And um, the more I think that someone studies the Islamic principles, the more that they will understand how it creates balance, and their knowledge will increase and their understanding will increase on this. And they'll find that it's the perfect um, solution for the economic challenges on a moral level for today, for all the problems that we're experiencing across the world today, as far as economic injustice, huge concentrations of wealth in certain areas, a huge lack of wealth in some areas, exploitations, things like that. The more someone studies this entire ecosystem of the Islamic economic principles and how to avoid riba and to do honest business in that aspect, the greater um, the greater justice we can create in the markets.
I know from your past, which you told me before, that there were certain problems in 2008. What happened? Can you acknowledge to the people in front of?
So in 2008, we experienced an economic recession in the United States that devastated large amounts of our population here, and I don't think that there was any family that wasn't unaffected. So in 2006, I had purchased a home with Riba, and I renovated the house, and I did what was called forced depreciation on the house, which is that's just the investment term for you take something that needs to be fixed and you increase its value quickly by renovating it, so that its after repair value is much higher. And so um, at that time, um, we had a huge amount of corruption and facade in the American financial markets. On top of the riba, there was just they were loaning money to people who couldn't reasonably repay the money. It created a bubble, a financial bubble, where the prices of things got artificially inflated way past what was reasonable for people's wages in the area as far as affordability to be able to repay the houses. People would do what they called liar loans or stated income loans, where people could make up what their income was without verification. And so people would uh, present false information in order to get approved for the loans because of the how easy it would be to make a fast profit at the time. And the morality of the markets just seemed to um, be gone during that time. And then it was like, and so with this corruption, it led the sheep to the slaughter. And so the entire market participated in it, whether it was the borrower, whether it was the lender, whether it were the agents involved. Um, the government regulators turned a blind eye to it, and the entire market became artificial. And so, because no one was no one was being moral, including myself. I mean, I didn't understand it at the time. I wasn't a Muslim yet, but um, I thought I was entering the system into where I was okay. This is how the system works, and in retrospect, now I would have been benefiting from the dust of riba. So I was borrowing money with the intention of investing it to use the money as the tool, um, and to gain more money. And so that was my sin at that time, even though I didn't understand that sin at the time. And because I didn't understand that, I also didn't understand the artificial manipulation of the markets and how it created a bubble for the asset prices that we're discussing right now. So the houses that may have been worth maybe $125,000 before might have been worth $200,000 because of the artificial market, even though wages hadn't increased in the area, and it didn't make sense as far as what people could logically repay, even in the Riba market. And so, with my lack of knowledge and my lack of understanding, I set myself up for a huge failure without realizing it. And when, and then so I purchased that house in the year 2006, and then I lost it at the end of 2010, and I had it for um, approximately 5 years, and before I lost it to the bank, before I lost it to foreclosure. And at first, because I didn't recognize my own sin in participating in the consumption of riba, and then I didn't acknowledge my sin in the participation of um, trying to gain wealth through the dust of riba, I set myself up for failure. And at the time I didn't understand this, but I participated in the sin, and as a result, I experienced that loss when because I lost 100% of it, because also the bankers have it set to where um, they will have the minimal amount of risk in a situation, and then the rest of the population will have the highest level of risk. And
Can we
so,
say this is a gamble in some way?
oh, absolutely, absolutely. So you're, instead of it being like a solid investment, it becomes a speculative market, almost like a casino. So maybe you'll win big money and cash out, but maybe if it's the wrong time, you'll lose everything.
Did you know the
And
economic way of running that time? Did you know something about this? For example, if
uh,
you buy something, if you buy the property and you invest $10,000, they stay $10,000. They don't vanish. So people who are signing something, they like, if I don't pay you all the amount, the whole amount, I lose everything. This is the gamble.
right. And so, and I believe that in the Islamic structure that, and I don't understand it completely, but you would buy shares of something, and so you would share the risk with the, I'm going to call it the lender because I don't know a better term in English to call it, but either the co-investor or the lender.
Investor, yeah.
But yeah, the co-investor would loan a certain amount of shares in a um, if they're doing it the correct way, because, and then if the property did go down in value, then they share the risk of loss. If they if all of the investors aren't sharing the potential for reward and the potential for loss, it cannot be a halal transaction, as far as my understanding.
Yes, but there is also another danger. For example, this co-investor won't invest in you if they don't see that you are worth of investing.
Exactly. But and that's a great point that you're making as far as for balance for the prices of the market. Because when people don't have that mentality, then the markets are artificially inflated, and the asset prices become huge bubbles. So instead of something being worth maybe $125,000, for example, maybe they inflated the value to $200,000, and it's not justified by real market conditions, and that's going to cause an economic loss to someone at some point. And so the system that we have in America, as far as this goes, is the bankers will they want capitalism when they have profits,
Yeah.
and then they want socialism when they have losses. It's the concept of too big to fail for the banks, at least for the big bankers. And so what they want to do is they set up products called private mortgage insurance, um, from other companies and sometimes from the government. But also, aside from that, if there's losses, then they ask the government to socialize those losses through bailouts. So the government will pay them for their losses, but the normal people at the bottom who are participating in the consumptive usury, they're consuming usury, those are the ones that will lose everything in the
Yeah.
American
Yeah.
system. And or if there's a market downturn, then the ones who are participating in profit through the dust of riba, they will also lose a substantial amount, if not everything. And so, and then it's leveraged to where the only ones who are going to profit no matter what are the lenders, because with the capitalistic thought, then they will keep their profits during the good time, and then after the sheep are fattened for the slaughter,
Yeah.
and we're experiencing our slaughter, they ask that they have the network with the government to where the government bails them out, so that they don't actually
But they
experience
say
that.
that if they don't succeed, if the government doesn't protect them, then the whole money which are kept in bank will vanish. So how is this possible? So they're all the time using like their acknowledgement to the government that you should protect us, and they say because of the investors in our banks. If not, all the when you say all the economy will be ruined. So I think.
Well, I think that's how Vorsakone or thieves in law in any society
Yeah.
want to operate, and the bankers happen to be the greatest Vorsakone or thieves in law in any society.
Yes.
So it's true that the thieves in law would lose financially if the government doesn't protect them from their corruption. But that tells us also that we need to have a more moral system that we're participating in, where there's fairness for the buyer and the seller, there's fairness between all parties, and there's economic justice between all parties. And that's why we need to learn the Islamic principles.
Inshallah, this is the first part. We will continue. In the next part, we will speak about Islamic principles. Thank you.